Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. I'm New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, and I'm joined today by quite a few of my colleagues in government, but also by Haiti Rowland, the homeowner of the fine property that we are standing in front of. She is the kind of homeowner we want to encourage and support in the city of Syracuse and all over the great state of New York. Thank you for hosting us here today. We also have County Executive Joni Mahoney, a great advocate for community restoration, and we have Mayor Stephanie Miner, your wonderful mayor, who is an incredible advocate around the state and the country for homeowners and rebuilding communities. We are joined by my good friend and colleague, Senator David Valesky, who is the sponsor of the land bank legislation that we are here today to implement, and another longtime colleague from the state Senate, Senator John DeFrancisco, another supporter of this important legislation. From the Assembly, we have Assemblymember Bill Magnarelli, who also supported the bill, and a representative, I believe, of Sam Roberts. We have also Van Robinson, the president of the Syracuse Common Council, and Council Member Lance Deno joining us today. And finally, Kerry Quaglia, who is representative of Home Headquarters, a persistent community advocate, and I do mean persistent, who has worked tirelessly to rebuild the community in which we stand today. And I'm very pleased to be here in Syracuse, first of all, because it is one of our state's truly great cities, but also because it is a perfect place to talk about one of the many devastating legacies of the collapse of America's housing market. Since taking office, I have made helping New York homeowners hurt by the collapse of the housing market one of my top priorities. When I assumed office at the beginning of 2011, there were 345,000 New York families facing foreclosure. I learned quickly that more than 50% of them went through the entire foreclosure process without ever having a chance to speak to a lawyer at any stage of that process. So I determined to press my colleagues in other states and the federal government to get as much relief as possible. And in addition to bringing substantial benefits to homeowners by way of principal reduction and rate reduction, we received the funding to set up our first major initiative, the HOP program, which stands for Homeowner Protection Program. We funded legal services and housing counselors all over the state. In our first year of HOP, we've funded, I believe, provided over $900,000 to groups in this greater Syracuse and central New York area. We made a commitment over 3 years of $60 million. No New Yorker will ever be foreclosed on because they can't get the right legal advice while I'm the Attorney General. We made that commitment to you, and we are honoring it, and we are here today to announce our second major initiative. Under the HOP program, more than 12,000 families have already received counseling, and a third of those have already got principal reductions or other modifications of their mortgage underway. But we've received complaints. Actually, I've received complaints from a lot of the people standing here with me today who are very, very strong advocates for this community, that we had to address the problem of abandoned properties, that it's one thing to help a homeowner get a great new house, but if there are abandoned properties surrounding them, the property values are lowered, it is harder to get other people to move in, they are magnets for crime, and I have been persuaded that the right vehicle for solving this problem is for us to take another portion of the settlement money that we continue to get from banks that engaged in misconduct to fund the land banks around New York State that have the power to purchase and either demolish or rehabilitate abandoned properties and make these neighborhoods revival a priority that can go beyond the individual homeowners who get their mortgages fixed or get good deals from the banks, and accelerate the process of getting New York communities back in business, back in shape, and back with people in homes where they belong. Homeowners like Mrs. Rowland, who decide to stay in their homes, feel these challenges directly. And you can see the property next door to hers is abandoned, it is run down, and this is exactly the kind of situation that with the work of my colleagues here in local government, we're going to seek to remedy by funding the land banks. New York's land banks are nonprofit organizations that can acquire tax foreclosed, abandoned, and delinquent properties. It is a model that has worked brilliantly in other states. One of the great examples, of course, being Flint, Michigan, where property values have been increased by over $100 million through the work of the Land Bank. And I just want to commend, first of all, the legislators who are with me who passed in 2011 the bill authorizing land banks. We now have 8 land banks in New York State with 2 more authorized. It is our hope that by providing this seed money, the land banks will be able to proceed with their business because there was no funding provided in the 2011 legislation, and that this is going to become a sort of a rolling fund because as land banks rehab and sell properties, the money can get deposited back in the land banks and they can keep the process rolling. So our office will be sending out requests for applications next month. We hope to get an initial round of funding out to land banks approved by October and then do a second round in the coming year. There is nothing more important to reviving our state's economy than reviving our housing market and getting New York homeowners out from underwater mortgages and back in homes so they can raise their families, so communities can stabilize, so kids can stay in school, and people can not have to worry about choosing between food or medicine and mortgage payments or rent.